Thus far, the casting for Greta Gerwig's Narnia remake remains largely under wraps or undecided, but the movies will face some challenges prior to ever being released. The Chronicles of Narnia series of stories based on the novels by C.S. Lewis are among the most beloved and celebrated children's stories ever written. And with that in mind, the stories have had several attempted adaptations over the years. However, there are 7 novels in the series, and there has never been a complete and full adaptation that has covered the expanse of Lewis's imaginative fantasy world. Now, as renowned director Greta Gerwig tackles the series with Netflix's backing, she has been approved to take the lead on the first 2 films in the series, with hopes to make this into a more complete retelling of the expansive world of Narnia. And yet, despite the backing of the streaming giant, the direction of a highly sought-after director, and incredible source material, the project does face one significant hurdle before getting started. And this is largely a result of the most recent efforts to adapt the Narnia stories for live action. Greta Gerwig's Narnia remake had to lean into radical casting with a character like Aslan. Aslan was already voiced by a legendary A-lister. At present, there is heavy speculation that Meryl Streep is in discussions to play Aslan in the Gerwig's adaptation of Narnia, which is evidently a big change from the traditional story. Aslan is a male lion, with an integral role in the story, and in the latest adaptation, legendary actor Liam Neeson tackled the part. But it makes sense for the new series to try and make a radical change on the back of this character being played by such a notable performer. Neeson has been a popular name in Hollywood for decades, and has played iconic parts in movies that became instant classics. Even in less serious roles, Neeson elevated the films to become something more, and his iconic voice was a huge part of what made Aslan one of the absolute best parts of the recent Chronicles of Narnia films. However, in order to stand out and move in a new direction, Gerwig is likely swinging for a big shift in order to make her movies unique. And while Streep being cast in the role is unconventional, it may not be as big an issue as fans are worried it will be. Narnia's casting highlights the harshest reality the Netflix remake faces. The Chronicles of Narnia films are fairly recent releases. The thing is, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie that came out in 2005 had a very distinct character to it, with legendary performers stepping into iconic roles. Alongside Neeson, Tilda Swinton was cast opposite Aslan as the White Witch who terrorized the inhabitants of Narnia. And furthermore, James McAvoy, who may not have been a huge star at the time but certainly has become one since, starred as Mr. Tumnus. These performers became integral parts of the story, and their incredible talents will be hard to compete with in a remake. And since these earlier movies were released between 2005 and 2010, just 15 years ago, Gerwig's new films are certain to be compared against what came before. In this way, Gerwig has a huge hurdle to overcome, and she will need to make a strong impression from the first film in order to ensure the rest of the stories will get their adaptations. As a result, landing big-name talent and unexpected actors to play major roles could be the perfect way to set the new series apart. Greta Gerwig's movies can balance their revolutionary casting by staying faithful elsewhere. This adaptation has the potential to be the best Chronicles of Narnia to date. And as mentioned briefly above, being experimental and progressive in the casting does not necessarily mean it has to have a knock-on effect which will alter the source material to become unrecognizable. Even if Meryl Streep is cast as Aslan in the new Chronicles of Narnia films, the character could remain largely unchanged. After all, at its core, the Chronicles of Narnia stories deliver outstanding messages, themes, and characters, and none of these should be cast aside. The film could put some new twists on the characters with a unique casting, but as long as the heart of the story remains largely the same, and Gerwig understands the source material and delivers a faithful adaptation, the new movies can be a huge success. Greta Gerwig may have an uphill climb in her efforts to create a new and satisfying adaptation of the Narnia stories, but with the right cast, these movies have the potential to outshine everything that came before.